So let's look now at consent. As we've said previously, in schools we do not want to use consent as our legal basis unless there's no other alternative. But there will be some occasions where we have to use consent, notably around the use of photographs, for example. When you do have to get consent, you've got to make sure that the consent you get complies with GDPR regulations. It has to be freely given, it's got to be for specific purposes, and it's got to be an informed decision. They have to know exactly what you want it for and who you're going to share that data with so that they know whether or not to give that consent. On top of that, it has to be a very clear, affirmative and unambiguous indication that they do wish to give consent. That means it's a definite opt-in, not an opt-out. It also means that we can't use pre-tick boxes any longer. So that our whole consent forms, particularly our photo consents we use in schools, you'll have to review them and make sure they comply with the new regulation. One of the things that we do a lot of in schools, and we're going to have to stop, is the idea of, if I don't hear from you by Thursday, we'll assume it's okay. That is not allowed under GDPR, so you will not be able to do that. If you need consent, you need it confirmed, and you can't assume it in any way at all. Consent under GDPR can be verbal, it could be written, or it could be electronic. But the most important thing is it has to be verifiable. You have to be able to prove that you did get consent. Obviously, with written consent or electronic consent, that's fairly simple. We've got the consent, whether that be on a form or electronic form. We can record it, we can retain it, and we can produce it whenever we need to prove that we did get consent for the purpose that we asked for. The problem comes when we have to, in some circumstances, take verbal consent for something. Whilst it is acceptable under GDPR, the question you need to ask yourself is, how are you going to verify it? One school recently said to me, when we do have to use consent and it's verbal, I always get them to give that consent to another member of staff as well, so that we can both say that we heard the consent being given. My answer to that would be very simple. When there's a dispute that comes up and the parent says that they didn't give consent, you'll both come up and say, yes, you did, we were both there. And the parent's simply going to say, oh, so you're both calling me a liar now, are you? You can see the dispute's going to come up. Make sure you can verify if you do use consent, you can demonstrate you definitely have it.